Hey book club. So I made a comment about finding a Polish drink, and a bunch of people made all of their funny jokes about me just pouring myself a shot of vodka and that being my Polish drink. And you know what? I actually looked really hard for this drink and I found one, and it's quite challenging to make. I think I'm so funny. Cheers, Poland. I honestly have no idea why you guys think I look like Tris. So what did you think I was gonna drink today? Come on, if I'm talking about The Witcher, I'm drinking beer. It's in like the first 3 lines of the story. Proudly made in Poland. Not just made in Poland, proudly made. I'm not like, I love beer. Beer is my go-to, but I'm not like a connoisseur, you know? I like it. The Last Wish by Andrzej Spakowski. But just the first story. Because, as many of you know, I'm gonna drag this Witcher thing out as long as I can. And why the heck wouldn't I if these are the videos that you guys are watching the most? Also because I like looking at it short story by short story, if that's actually what it is, because I'm quite fascinated with short stories, and that's one thing that I'm realizing all these game trailers that I'm watching are. They're all just short stories, and for me, writing a novel, like it's not easy to get somebody invested in that amount of time, but it's definitely easier than doing it in 2 or 3 minutes. So that I'm always very impressed by. Why don't I place you somewhere? Is that gonna stay, do you think? Until I need it? Stay. I don't even know if I want to go overall on this short story or right to the point, but I will say, waking up to somebody's nips on your eyelids, I've never personally experienced that, but I'm sure it must be nice. I actually really liked that this was a story that was done in a game trailer and in the TV show, so I'm kind of getting 3. I was a little disappointed that Tris was nowhere to be seen, but totally understandable. I'm fine with that. So this is the story where we get Foltest and the Striga, and I will say that I would have preferred a hot Foltest in the TV show. Not sure why we get a hot Foltest in the book and not the show, but whatever. I mean, since he's stupping his sister, I don't really want a hot Foltest. I do think that it's interesting that the game trailer really portrayed the Striga, the description of the Striga, like pretty much exactly as it is in the book, or quite similar. And also how ridiculous that is. I mean, she had a hairy tongue and she was kind of gross, but she was pretty campy. I think that when you're reading a monster, it's so easy to make it the scariest version of what it can be. But when you're showing it, it's not. So I'll take ugly Foltest and super creepy Striga over hot Foltest and mildly odd-looking Striga. It was cool that it was written in mini chapters, even though it was short. I'm actually a very slow reader off the page, so I appreciated being able to like take mini breaks or having it broken up for me, even though it was only 30 pages long or so. And in general, the writing and the translation was done beautifully. I really thought about translating a novel for the first time when I was learning French and I was listening to Harry Potter in French. It was at a point where I was understanding some French and how well the novel was translated, and that really is an art. You have to know 2 languages so well to be able to do that. And the translator did that beautifully. I really think, I mean, you guys who speak English and Polish, if you've read them in both languages, can tell me. But it seems on my end like the translator really was able to portray what the author was intending. To the point where there was one bit, it gave me goosebumps. I was so in it. Even though it was short, I still had lots of little spots. Like the nip wake up and, yo, Big G's just gonna kill 3 guys to get somebody's attention? Okay, if you must. Foltest was slim and had a too pretty face. I want to see this Foltest. It was interesting that everybody knew the Striga was the princess and it wasn't hidden or a secret like it kind of was in the show. Maybe I misinterpreted what was happening in the show, but my understanding was it was a secret, and it seems like everybody knows in this short story. So I will say the description of the Striga in here and how it's portrayed in the game really makes me question all of you guys who are like, they must have red hair to be a powerful mage, because in the games their hair is like flaming red. The Striga's hair is like orange, and in the book it's red-ish, a halo of red-ish hair. Oh fuck, I have red-ish hair in the right light. I am Tris. My last little note, right at the end of the story, and I don't know what it was, these couple lines really spoke to me. So Geralt has done his thing, he's beaten the Striga, she's turned back into a princess, he did whatever, he's bleeding, he succeeded, and fainted. In Visum, beyond the lake, a cock, ruffling his feathers in the cold damp, crowed hoarsely for the 3rd time. That got me good, guys. That gave me goosebumps when I read it. I was like, whoo, I hope one day I can write something that cool. And I don't, like, on its own, it's a cool line, but it really just, like, I was so in the story, and that was great. I'm looking forward to reading the next one. I am gonna do this kind of slowly, but that's annoying for you. Sorry. So my rating for the first story of The Last Wish is 1 Harry Potter lightning bolt out of 1. Because it was a short story, I can't really break it down that much. I mean, the writing was great, I really liked it. It was perfect. For what it was perfect. I mean, I'd buy it again. It's easy to drink. I'm not gonna try and say what it's called. I said it in my head, but I'm not gonna say it to you guys. I mean, it looks like it should be easy, but I never know with these things. So when I asked for suggestions for an urban fantasy novel, a lot of people suggested Stormfront, the first novel in the Dresden Files. I think this is like a 90% spoiler-free video. There are some things that I talk about throughout the book, but for the most part, I'm not spoiling any plot points. And these books are old, so if I spoil them, it's your fault, right? There's no such thing as Game of Thrones spoilers anymore. Is that true? When I went to get the audiobook for it and I saw that James Marsters was the reader, guys, literally all you had to say. I am here for Spike to read me a story. This book, I don't know if it's because James Marsters was reading it, but the Wizard Detective really gave me like Angel season 1 vibes, which in my opinion was the best season. Debatable. Season 5 was also really great, but man, season 1 of Angel was so good, and 2 through 4 were. That's off topic. It really reminded me of that. It also kind of gave me, I mean, it's a detective novel, right? Like it's a detective novel with magic, and I am here for that. I also used to love the Hardy Boys when I was a kid. I burned through those books. We had the blue hardback versions of them. I don't know if you guys have ever read those, but we must have had like 30 of them, and I think I read them all, and I could not tell you one single story about what any of them were about, but I know that I loved them. And this was really reminiscent of that, like the detective noir style with magic, I guess. And it was just really fun. Oh shit, this has been here the whole time. My Crave video is next, but I took this off because I'm a schmuck and I didn't want to get it dirty. Does everybody do that? Does everybody take those off when they're reading? There was so much of this book that I really liked, and the stuff that I didn't like was, I mean, debatably a product of the times, being written in 2000, and debatably just like a product of the genre. And I think Harry Dresden as a character actually handled this much better than a lot of other detective characters did, and that was the women in the story. I liked it. It was fine. I just didn't love it. I mean, Murphy is a strong character and I like her a lot. That's cool. The reporter character, she's solid. The wife character, also good. What kind of bugged me was that the descriptions of all of these women, it was all sexualized. Like anytime we were talking about these women, it was like really polite sexism, because every time he was describing anything about them, it was about sex. Kind of made me feel a little yucky sometimes, you know? Like there was one point where one of the women says something and he thinks like he likes the way her mouth moves when she says that, or it does interesting things to her mouth and she already has a great mouth, and it's just kind of like, okay. Then to the flip side of that, he's like, she's super smart and this woman's super capable and and all this stuff. So I'm kind of two minds with this kind of description of female characters, because I mean, I don't know, I'm not a guy. Maybe this is how you guys think. You see a woman and you immediately sexualize her. And like, yes, there are problematic things in that too. But I mean, I guess if that's real, I guess I do that to men sometimes. I do that to James Marsters. And Keanu Reeves. I think that Harry as a character was really endearing. I liked him a lot. The thing with him and Murphy racing to the door to see who would get there first, he would hold it open for her, she would hold it open for him. I thought that was really cute and like a really nice moment, a really good way for the writer to show us that they have a connection and they have history together. And what kind of threw me off from that is that in the end of the book, she has no trust for him. So how are you building up this relationship and showing me how well these two have worked together and how much trust they have, and how she's a laughingstock for what she believes, but she believes him, and he's tried to tell her about the never, but then when push comes to shove at the end of the book, she's just rummaging through his office, gives him no grace in that scenario. That felt a little counterintuitive to who she was, like leading up through that. Like their butting of heads wasn't enough for me to believe that she would legitimately do that as a character. So I didn't love that. There were a few lines that I actually like laughed out loud when I heard, and one of them was close to the beginning where he gets the call from the woman and she says, "Is this Harry Dresden, the wizard, and he thinks, no, this is Harry Dresden, the lizard. And I don't know why that cracked me up so much. Like, I'm so happy I wasn't in public because I would have just burst out laughing listening to this book. That's happened to me a lot, especially on the metro when I was living in Paris. I was scaring the locals. But no, this is Harry Dresden, the lizard. The other part I thought was really funny was when the reporter accidentally drinks the love potion. That was cute. Like, I mean, it was a very funny scene, and how he's like trying to be such a gentleman, but his body is reacting in a way that he like can't really help. And yeah, that was really, really fun. But him as a character, I really liked because he wasn't perfect, and he knew that, and he wasn't afraid of asking for help. He didn't feel like he had to do everything on his own, you know? And the whole like Bob character, I think his name was, in the skull was really great, and him tricking the fairy and getting some help there, and then bringing that back at the end of the book where he's like giving them pizza and stuff. His character was really cool. He's a bad liar. He puked at a crime scene. He doesn't know when he's being followed. Like, he's a guy who can use magic and sometimes needs help, and that was really endearing. I really, really liked that. As opposed to a character like the guy in... what's it called? What is that book? I was just listening to it. The Name of the Wind. I'm gonna make a very short video about The Name of the Wind. I found Harry Dresden's character just like so refreshing, that this is a guy who's like, he's just a guy and he can kind of use magic, and he was just so endearing. I just really liked him. All of that stuff, like Murphy's lack of trust at the end, I didn't love, but it was fine. The way women were described, I didn't love, but I didn't like hate it. Those weren't make or break things for me. Really, the like only real complaint I have is the last chapter. We get to know these characters, we go on this adventure, and then it was like friggin' the last Hunger Games. He takes a nap and then he goes on a date. Everything's wrapped up. The thing with the council's fine. Morgan is off his back, and the whatever thing is lifted, and we're good. Bye. It's like, come on, man. Like, I want to go on that date with you. I want to see what the council looks like. I want to be a part of those things because it's important to the story. And I didn't get that. But with the exception of that, I really like this book. The audiobook was done really well. The narration was amazing. I am going to wait to read the next one, even though I'm very eager to get to it, because I know how I am with a series like this. There have definitely been times where I have burned through a series and I've gotten sick of it. I don't want to listen to these characters anymore, and I don't really want to feel that way. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to one of these a month, I think. Maybe once every 3 weeks. But one thing I don't want to do is get sick of these characters, because I really love this book. So much so that I'm giving it 4 out of 5 Harry Potter lightning bolts. Like I said, I really wish I could have had a bit more at the ending, a bit more of a conclusion to some of these stories. Maybe I'll get them in the next book. Maybe I won't. I don't know, but I really loved it. My 2 questions for you guys that I'm ending with is, first, how do you guys feel about short stories? Do you read a lot of short stories? Do you like short stories? Do you write short stories? And 2, when you find a series that has a ton of books, do you read them all in a row? How far do you get, and do you get sick of them? Let me know. I'm booking out, so until next time, may the force be with you. Live long and prosper, and don't let the muggles get you down.